He said they were talking about murdering their source. They're actually going to go through with it, man. He was really adamant. He goes, they were hollowing out potatoes to use as silencer. And I said, well, I guess, yeah, maybe I've seen that on TV once before, but we made some controlled phone calls and confirmed this guy's telling the truth. We ended up hitting the house and found the potatoes. They still had them.
This is 56, a Pinellas County Sheriff's Office podcast. I'm Ricky Butler with Laura Sullivan and Ashley Cooley. Last episode, we chatted with Corporal Matt Aitken about his career here at the Sheriff's Office and got into how he got here and all those good things that we do here on 56. But we did spend some time talking about the incident in March of 2023, where he and his canine partner were ambushed and on a routine track. Matt was hit 3 times, but is still with us today for a whole lot of reasons, but 2 main reasons. One being Canine Taco, who refused to come on the podcast with us, and the other being Sergeant Jake Viano, who just by chance decided to track with them. And Jake was with them and returned fire and took care of business. And we can't really talk to Matt and then not talk to Jake too. So we're happy to have Jake on this episode 56 with us. And it should be noted that He's got some awards recently. He got the just a couple. Yeah. He got the Ruth and Tim Johnson Deputy of the Year Award for the Sheriff's Office for us here at Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. The Major County Sheriff's of America, which represents literally all the major county sheriff's offices across the U.S., and FSA's Deputy of the Year, so Florida Sheriff's Association. So he's cleaning up. I think all we've got left now is National Sheriff's Association. Then we'll have all of them. There's got to be some kind of a ring for that or something. So,
right?
Thanks a lot for coming on. I'm looking forward to. We didn't want to define Matt by what happened, and we don't want to define you that way either. We want to get into some other good stuff and maybe touch on a little bit at the end. So, just thanks a lot for getting some more attention drawn to yourself and coming on the podcast. So before we get into all that, Ashley has a question for us to get things started, and it's the scariest part of the whole thing. So if you're nervous, you don't have to be after this.
All right.
If you could be best friends with any animated character, so it could be a 2D cartoon, 3D cartoon, just an animated character, who would you choose and why?
All right. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I have to go way back in the day. I'd say Yogi Bear.
Okay, why?
Yeah, Yogi Bear. Well, he eats well. He likes picnic baskets, you know. And
doesn't he steal from people, though?
Yeah, he's a little devious. A little devious.
He's stealing food, though. Is that?
I don't have to. I'll always be the good-looking one in the group. See, you always pick. You click your close friends like that.
Yeah.
There
Sure.
you go.
All right, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, for that reason, I should not pick what I was going to pick, which is She-Ra in the reboot. So I will definitely not be the good-looking one in that group, but it'll be fun, and I'll learn how to sword fight. I even get magical powers. What? You guys encourage honesty.
I don't know. 100%.
Well, so what I should have said, and you're my contemporary, I should have said HR Puffin stuff. Does that ring a bell?
I know the name. I'm not ringing what it's to, though.
It's a horrifying character.
Yeah, it is.
Just visually.
It is. It's this guy grew up with Bloods and Crips, and you're asking about Puffin stuff.
Okay,
come
well,
on.
a little too
remember
innocent
Ace
for him.
Ventura referring to it in one of his movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a
still can't put
2 degrees of separation. All right.
Yeah, it's this really terrifying character. I don't know. I can't think that fast on the fly, so I'll go by the default. Like I just think I think Stewie from Family Guy is hilarious.
Okay.
And it would just be fun to hang out with him because he drinks and stuff, even though he's a baby.
You'd be in trouble all the time.
I would. I already am. So I might as well just go all the way. Like
There you go.
I think in Family Guy cutaway scenes, we just talked about that the other day.
you
So
did.
I thought of another answer too when you said that.
Oh, who-
Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty.
Oh, geez.
oh yeah.
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 That's a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
It might be
a
fun.
lot of
I'm getting
chaos.
more into chaos lately.
Yeah, I like it.
He would bring it.
All right. What about you?
I was thinking Remy from Ratatouille. Because, which I don't know if you've seen the movie or not.
That's the rat, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But he would cook all my meals.
Yeah.
That would be an ideal best friend for me. Like if I ever get really, really rich, first prerogative, chef, personal chef. I don't want to cook ever again.
Getting
But-
the idea from last episode and
just-
this episode
Correct.
that
Yeah,
you
it's
really
carrying
don't
over.
like cooking.
You can see how strong the desire is.
But
for
it's
me to
just going to
not
be like
cook.
a chicken nugget chef, though.
No, he'll learn.
Okay.
He'll learn.
All right. That was a good one. And I'm going to think of something better at some point, either during this podcast or each one. I'm just going to blurt it out because I know I could do better than that.
Go for it.
That one was, I didn't want to.
I think through this whole episode, that should be our shtick. We should just blurt out other cartoon characters we think of that we
that
really
we
like.
think we could be. Yeah. All right. All right. I'll get you back at some point at the
that
worst
could
possible
end up
time.
being the title. You know,
It could be.
if it's good enough and random enough.
All right, Jake. So you grew up in Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
One sibling. You got a sister.
Yep.
And everything was kind of normal about growing up, right? Except growing up in gang-infested neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. The community wasn't the best. The family nucleus was really strong. My parents were involved in everything I did. They kept me out of trouble. Made sure that they governed my upbringing. Everything out of the house, though, was I don't know if they were fully aware of the community and how it was. But,
Like your parents weren't even aware?
you know, they had their own little. They weren't really part of a lot of things outside the home.
Okay.
They stayed inside our walls for the most part.
Did their thing and then
Did their
came home
thing
and that was it.
Made sure that we were taken care of, but you know, no matter how much I would explain, hey, you're not really understanding what we're dealing with in schools and community. They kind of wrote that off, but yeah, it was. So
I'm just
a unique time.
I'm just envisioning like elementary age Jake coming home like, there's gang members outside, and they're like, nah, it's fine. Don't worry about what are we talking about here? When he's
Kids, they always exexaggerate.
yeah, the
What,
kids
what
like, yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Like what year around?
Well, it was all in the 80s.
Okay.
Is when I grew
Yeah.
up. So that was a crack pandemic that was going on, and everybody got their breakdown of the family dealing with all that. So the kids, especially, they would flock together and create cliques, and next thing you know, you got a new gang on that street, a new gang on that street, and everybody had to identify with something. So you had to wear certain clothes, and to get to school, I had to walk to school, and through elementary school, junior high, and high school, I had to go through all these neighborhoods. And if you weren't wearing the right clothes or took the right path, so my routes to school were catered to avoiding that street, avoiding that corner, that liquor store, that corner store. So it was a unique dynamic.
It's a lot of street smarts for a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. You grow up recognizing where threats are right off the bat.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Any notable stories related to that? I mean, it's got to be interesting to have to deal with it kind of without your parents. Like, hey, don't go that way.
Well, for like elementary school, a lot of guys I would associate, their older brothers were involved with gangs, and so I kind of started getting exposed to it then, probably about 10 years old. Started recognizing, okay, this is a thing that you got to try to avoid and not get a part of. But then I got involved with breakdancing, and then that kind of married itself into gangs too. So we had our own little breakdance group that we wore a certain color outfit,
But not
baggy
red or not
pants.
blue, I hope.
You had to be careful about that.
You had to be the pinks, and that was maybe even too close to red, just to avoid any confrontation.
Yeah, you had to really be careful about the colors. So we'd find little, not real bright blue or bright red, and kind of faded out little thing, marrying them up. But yeah, so I got involved with that a little bit, and then the breakdance groups ended up getting cliquey and violent, and yeah, that only lasted about, I think, my 6th grade year or whatever, and we broke that down.
Breakdancing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was
that
the
didn't
big
come up
thing.
when we
That
talked
was
I
when-
did not have that on my
No.
bingo card.
that was when the movie Breakin' and Beat Street.
Beat Street,
and all
Beat
that.
Street
Yeah.
2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, that's when that was out there. Yeah, those are the big ones back then.
I can't. That's fantastic.
You can, Ricky.
I
You
can.
can.
No, I can.
Were you any good?
Yeah, I did. I was pretty good. Not, I didn't pop dance as much as I broke dance, but yeah, I was pretty good. I was good enough to somebody to want me to be part of their group.
All right.
Especially
Yeah, we used to go after school. We'd have our.
Do you have like recitals?
We'd
or how
have
does
our
that-
cardboard boxes that are all laid out.
Yeah.
And tape those down, and we'd
Big
put out our
boombox.
big radios. Yeah,
Hell
we
yeah.
had our big radio out there and play our double cassette tapes in there and bump them. Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Can we see a demonstration?
No.
Oh man,
not gonna do that. I'm not gonna
I'd
do
probably
that to him.
break something nowadays.
Maybe later. Maybe that'll be some bonus
Yeah.
content we'll get some cardboard boxes and go out back and turn on the electric boogaloo or whatever the hell you said.
You got it.
Was there any other things that you had to avoid doing that maybe many people growing up in different areas didn't have to think about, like, or think twice about, other than your route to school?
Well,
And the colors.
You have to be careful of
colors.
clothes,
Yeah. So
right?
we
Yeah.
talked about before that my mom, not being aware of the dynamics with color in the neighborhoods, would buy me at that time. 501 jeans was real big, and we have there was multiple colors that you could get. And she one time for Christmas or for some occasion, she got me multiple color jeans, where she got me the black ones, the regular Levi color, white, and red. Well, I could wear the white, I could wear the black ones and the blue ones, and those could work around any neighborhood. But what she was unaware is red you don't wear in my neighborhood. Now there was...
You grew up in a Crip neighborhood, right?
I grew up in a Crip neighborhood, yeah. So you don't wear red. Now there's other pockets of neighborhood on my way to school that you might be able to get away with that, but not in my particular section. And so I would only wear those red jeans at home if I was mowing the lawn or something that nobody would see me.
So mom knew at least you were wearing them,
Yeah, and then I'd get some use out of them. Well, there was one day that I was wearing them, and my mom asked me to go mail a letter. 2 blocks away, I had to go mail this letter. So I walk up, being cautious, knowing that I'm wearing red jeans, but I didn't want to change. I figured I could get away with it. Everyone in the area knew I grew up here, and I'm not a gangbanger, so thought I'd get away with it. Well, I go up to mail the letter. I'm at the mailbox, and there's a Crip comes up the street that was much older than me. At that time, I'm probably 13, 14 years old, and he looked like he was probably 20, and he come pimp walking up on me and asked me what I'm wearing that dread for. And I'm like, damn it, I support. No, he's asked me why are you sporting that dread? And he was up in my face, and I'm like, dude, this is not good. And I'm like, I ain't sporting nothing. My mom bought me these jeans, buddy. I ain't sporting nothing.
Right.
And he kind of circles me a couple times, and I like that dread, man. Take that off. So at that time, I took those pants off and I won't wear them again.
That's right. Yeah, probably good.
And there was another time my mom would always give me $100 for school clothes that I was able to buy mostly whatever I wanted for school clothes, and that had to last me for the year. Well, British Knights was a brand then that was pretty popular. They sold outfits at the Foot Locker in the mall. And I thought, I really like this outfit in British Knights. And at that time, I didn't recognize British Knights as blood killers. That's what they went by. And so there was no major color. It was all white, and it had a little bit of red and green in it, but it was blood killer on it. And so I bought this outfit, used my whole $100 for this outfit, shoes and the whole. I thought I looked great. I was ready for the first day of school, and unfortunately, I wore it to school. And here I am walking into school thinking I'm really fancy.
I'm cool,
looking good. And then all my buddies kept walking up to me, going, "Why are you wearing it, dude? Did you join a gang or something over the summer?" And I'm like, "No, don't I look good?" No, dude. You're gonna get jumped. You keep wearing that. So then I realized what it meant, and I had to keep my head down throughout school. And then I ran myself home all the way from school. And my school was it was probably over a couple miles away. And I huffed it home in every single block that I thought I could get away with.
Did you leave early?
No, but and so I didn't take my normal exit. I would exit out to the main street normally through a gate, and this time I kind of took a separate gate and hid my way around back home. Took the long way. Yeah,
blew that $100.
I blew that $100. I never could wear the outfit. It's probably still sitting in my closet.
Should have worn it.
Brand new.
Should have worn it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a side mission on GTA San Andreas or something. All right. So, were you a decent student at school? Were you focused on other things? What?
No.
Had some other things on your mind.
Academics wasn't my strong point. Girls were the thing.
Yeah.
I was girl crazy.
Yeah. I think Matt said that.
He did. That's why I was like, you were girl crazy, but were you successful?
Well, I know what you were driving then.
Yeah,
I know what you were driving. So
Yeah.
I think in that part of my academics, I was successful, but not with the.
would that be
Not
like
on the-
social studies?
social studies.
There you go.
Anatomy,
Yeah.
physiology.
But I never really took school all that important. I knew I had to get a C to play sports, and that's all I really did. I just wanted to get by.
So sports then.
Right.
Sports was the other interest.
Baseball.
Yeah, baseball. Baseball kind of took its shape, and I wanted to do the other things too. But when I got into the high school level, it kind of pigeonholed me, and coaches wouldn't let me play other things.
So when did you start playing baseball?
At 8 years old, yeah. My mom came home one day and said that, would you be interested in joining a team at the park? And I grew up playing with the kids in the neighborhood. We threw tennis balls, and we played baseball and football and all that stuff in the street. And I thought I was pretty good. I was playing with the older kids, and so I said, yeah, I'll go, and was nervous about it and really stunk. It wasn't good.
Not so good at it, huh?
No, they and a lot of it was nerves. But they played me 2 innings because they had to. That was the league rule, and they stuck me in right field where they could hide me as much as possible. And then fortunately, there was one game toward the very end of the season. We were short on pitchers, and the coach stuck me in there just to play catch with the catcher. And next thing you know, the guys weren't hitting me, and I thought, man, I kind of boosted my confidence a little bit.
You got something.
Maybe I can do this game. And my dad ended up stepping up and coaching me the next year, and he made sure I got more playing time. And next thing you know, I started getting better. So
nice. So you're still like 8 or 9, 10 range?
Yeah, I was 9. I was 8 years old, and first organized type of sport. And fortunately, after that, I started to build more confidence. Started getting better and better. Again, the culture of the gangs and all that stuff was part of the leagues. So that was another bad thing that we had to deal with. Just the kids on the team were kind of starting to get affiliated because they were getting in that age, but their older brothers and cousins and all that stuff were all part of it. So the parks that we played at weren't all that secure. There's times where if you hit a ball past an outfielder, it would roll past into maybe the public area at the one I grew up at where there's a bathroom. Well, there's a little courtyard where the bathroom was, and the gangs would hang out there. Sometimes you wouldn't want to go get the ball.
No man.
Because they'd pick up the ball. Sometimes they'd be nice and give it back to you. Other times they'd try to play keep away or throw it further down the playground or something. But, yeah.
And there was a time your team was winning and the other team wasn't too happy about that?
Yeah, and that was it was an all-star tournament that we were playing in San Pedro. And we were beating this team by like 12 runs by the second inning or something. And they called one of the guys on the opposing team had a uncle or a cousin or brother or whatever. It was a gang member. So he calls them up, and they come down to the field, and there must have been 30 of them around the chain link fences and started harassing us and threatening us.
Like gentle teasing or actual?
No, like hanging on the fence and saying they were going to kill us if we caught the ball. If you were a pitcher, you threw a strike. Yeah, if you were a pitcher, you're going to throw a strike. You're going to get killed. And all this stuff. I mean, there was just threat after threat. And these guys, at that time, I was probably 13, 14. And they were, it was intimidating. These guys were older, and there was a lot of them, and we weren't home. We weren't in Long Beach. We were in San Pedro. So it's a whole different set of rules over there. And fortunately, the cop showed up, but our 12-run lead went down by about 4 or 5 within a couple of innings because they got in our head.
It was effective, yeah.
Little off topic, but how did he call up his cousin?
It was probably somebody in the stands, but that they talked to and brought him over.
Okay, I'm like,
ran
was
to a
there a payphone on the side?
It was probably another family member that said, "Hey, come down. We need some help over here. Get in these kids' heads."
I see that.
Yeah, so there was a lot of intimidation in that time.
I can't tell if you're like trying to point out just that cell phones weren't there or just point out how old he is.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just saying without a cell phone, how did you go
there
about that?
used to be payphones everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to put money in.
These
I guess people
parks
carried
were
money
always
like that. We don't now.
These parks were always in neighborhoods, so you could live right across the street.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the parks are always amongst other houses and stuff. So
yeah, I'm just imagining this 8-year-old like saying "time out, guys," and then running over and.
Well, see the difference back then, and it's a shame that the youth sports have gone the way they are. Back then, you would play to your area code of your neighborhood. You never played outside of that. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have travel ball or anything. If you wanted to travel, you needed to be good enough to be on an all-star team or something like that. Okay. So if you wanted to play, you played within your area code, and you were within 5 or 6 blocks of the park that had your your team
Okay.
on it. So
Yeah.
That makes sense.
yeah.
So at what point, when did you start getting real serious about baseball?
Out of junior high, and at that time, my junior high was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and then high school started in 10th grade. Coming out of 9th grade, I was invited onto the high school team. The coach got with me or offered me to play Connie Mack and Legion ball with the high schoolers, and that was a big opportunity where I started playing with kids that actually knew how to play the game, and they were a little bit more refined and kind of had an idea of how to bunt and take infield and do all your warm up and prep that we didn't do before. You just show up and start throwing with something, whatever equipment you pulled out of the bag.
Right.
Now it was like, man, this is this is
is
good.
legit. Yeah.
And the coach basically said, hey, you're gonna come on and you got a good chance of making varsity, but you can't play when you come into high school. I wanted to wrestle when I came in, and he said, no, you can't wrestle. You have a chance. You're gonna hurt your arm and all that stuff. That's when I started having to kind of dial down everything I wanted to do. Before that, I got into martial arts. I got into karate, and that really got me better at playing. I was kind of wild. Physically, I didn't have any control in emotion. I didn't have any control with my pitching I was all about just power, strength. But when I got into martial arts, once I got into junior high, I started learning a lot about I developed a lot of confidence, for one, and then two, just the balance that I got out of that. I started developing more control, and it helped me all around with athletics.
And then was there, how did you get in? How did because, people take baseball seriously and not everybody always wants to go pro or things like that. How did that come together for you? That potential?
Going pro?
Yeah, going that direction.
So I ended up I was always kind of behind the 8 ball because of my height. I'm 5'10", and it was understood that to go pro, they're not even going to look at you unless you're 6 feet tall as a pitcher. Okay. And I couldn't play pro in other positions. I didn't have the leg speed, or I didn't hit well enough, to make any teams like that at that level. But as far as being a pitcher, I had a strong arm and I had a great curveball. That was what I was known for more than anything else. So when I started to get into high school and we started talking about what's next, I was getting scholarship interests, and I didn't have the grades to go to a 4-year. But I thought, I'll just go. If I got a chance, I'm going to go pro out of high school. And I started understanding that I'm not getting a whole lot of interest from the pro teams. And my coach was explaining, you're not that tall. You got the arm strength and the pitches, but they're looking for guys that are much bigger and linkier than you are.
Did you try to look taller?
I tried. Oh yeah, that was a whole thing. So my whole baseball career, even when I went pro, I still played the game. I would wear, on days where I knew the scouts were showing up, I'd wear brand new spikes that were extra long, metal spikes. I would stand next to the shortest guys on the team. Mm-hmm. I'd wear my hat as high on my head as possible. And I'd find the most unlevel piece of ground on the field when they're in the stands and they're looking around the field. I would be in the highest point. I don't care if it was a half-inch higher than anything else or standing on a pebble. I was going to look as tall as possible.
You think they knew what you were doing?
I don't think so. But I was pretty good at hiding all that. But, yeah, everything was about lengthening me and being tall.
Right.
And then my parents told me that if I drank coffee or had any caffeine or something, it stumped my growth. So I had to stay away from all that all the time. I did everything I could to be as tall as I could.
So you didn't get drafted out of high school?
No.
And then you were what was your backup plan? Did you have one at that point?
Yeah, I was going to, the two interests I had, I always was big at when the cops would roll through the neighborhood and stuff. I always thought that would be cool to be in there and jump out at these fools on the corner and have some authority to do something about this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that would be cool. And I grew up on Westerns and watching the sheriffs and on the cowboy shows. Mm-hmm. So that was always my second thing. I'm going to go pro, and I'm going to take that as far as I can if I can. And if I can't, then I'll go into law enforcement. So I ended up, when I didn't get drafted out of high school, I was real disappointed. I'm like, I'm not going to, if it's my height that's going to stop me from taking it to the next level, then I need to look at other things, and I'm not going to get any taller. So I went down to the sheriff's office at Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office and started inquiring about their Explorer program and how to get involved in that. And I was going to stop playing baseball. I figured if there's no fruit in it, I'm going to go ahead and move on with my life. And the college coach, Long Beach City College, he ended up contacting me and really motivated me to keep going with it. And with baseball.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Long Beach City College and played for the college team. And from then on, it didn't. The success I had in college ended up changing. They couldn't overlook me anymore. So then I ended up going, okay, well, I know I'm going to go pro at some point. I'll stick with this, and law enforcement will be on the back shelf.
On the back door. So how long until you went pro after that? How did that play out?
2 years. I played for 2 years, and then was drafted by the Rockies in '93.
Okay. And then and I know I'm not a baseball person, so, I mean, I know there's beer at the games, and I understand the basic things watching the games, but that's about it. What are the different levels of, when you say go pro, what does that mean exactly?
Means that you're going to start getting paid to play. And you're with a professional organization. Right at that time, there was 28 teams. There was an expansion teams, Miami Marlins and Colorado Rockies were the two expansion teams that year. Or actually, they came in '92. And then I was drafted in '93 by them in the 11th round. So the big thing with when you get signed by them, you have several levels before you're at the major league level. You have rookie ball, A ball, double A, triple A, and then the big league level.
Okay,
so you have to work. You have to work your way up the system.
Okay,
so
cool.
That's where we ended up. You end up being at the bottom of a pyramid, so it's basically a big pyramid. And then when I came in to play rookie ball, I came to minicamp. And when I got to minicamp, here I am now. I'm seeing some guys, the coaches that I'd seen on TV. And I'm looking at all the other players from all over the nation, and some international. But I came in and I saw other guys warming up on the field, and they were older, and it looked like they were around 30 years old. And I'm thinking, why is that guy? I don't recognize him from seeing him on TV, and he's out here with us. So we're all new to the league. I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be, if you're not going to make it,
go all the way. Why bother?
Why keep going? There's
Right.
other things I can do. So I made a pact with myself at that time that I'm not going to continue playing if I'm not going to make the big money. I need to be able to retire out of this game because there's nothing else I can do. What else am I going to get trained for here? You know,
Right.
I'm either going to play or I'm going to coach, or I got to do something else. Or don't transfer anywhere else. So I made a pact with myself then that if I don't get to a point where once I realize in my career that I'm not going to be able to retire out of this, I'll move on.
So how far did you make it? How long?
I was on the big league roster in '96 with the Rockies.
Okay.
But I ended up getting up to the AAA level when I was pitcher of the year in the organization the year before. They made a trade. Joe Girardi was the catcher at that time, and he was traded to the Yankees. Joe Girardi would manage the Yankees for a long time in 2000s. But at that time, he was traded over for two minor league guys while I was coming up. And I was slotted to be the closer. My understanding was I was slotted, according to Baseball America, which was a magazine, I was going to be the closer in 97. But they made a trade for two other pitchers that were short relievers like me because I was a closer. And that kind of changed my career trajectory. I came into spring training the next year with those two guys now being prospects for the big league club, breaking with the big league club that year. And they told me they were going to move me to being a starter because I had developed a third pitch. I developed a changeup early on. And when they moved me to be a starter, they put me with a pitching coach that came over from San Diego. Didn't know me, didn't see me beforehand, and knew what I could do. Just on their player meetings and all that stuff. He had an idea, but he started changing my mechanics. And in doing that, I lost the feel for my changeup. My arm slot got a little bit different, so I wasn't throwing as hard and started struggling. So that kind of put me where I back down to the minor leagues, started bouncing around. I'd always throw well enough to keep getting jobs, but I started on a year-to-year contract deal. I started being a free agent year-to-year instead of being that top prospect like I was.
Right. So that's kind of when you start saying, okay, this is going the other direction.
That's when you start going, all right, now, that created an arm injury in me. So,
And you hadn't been injured before.
I hadn't been
until they
injured
started
before.
training you to probably prevent injuries. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're gonna go from throwing a small number to a large number as a
Ironic,
starter,
yeah.
right?
So the idea was it was supposed to lengthen my career, allow me to throw 100 pitches a game instead of the 10 to 15 or 20 I was throwing before.
Yeah.
And it ended up creating inflammation in my shoulder. Never had shoulder injuries before, but it put me on the DL for a couple months. And I'd come back. They'd throw me 3 or 4 or 5 innings, 6 innings sometimes. And the length of that, along with not having my changeup, I just never had the dominant success I was having before.
And you can't say no to a coach in that position.
No,
right?
at that time I'm 22 years old, and you don't want to be considered uncoachable.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're considered uncoachable, you better never have a bad year. You're done. Somebody else is going to take your job. So
Right.
I did everything he asked me to do, and it ended up turning me to where I'd lost the feel for what was making me successful.
Good, yeah.
Wow.
But it ended up making me go international eventually. I was always good enough to continue to get jobs and continue to be a prospect. I came over here with the Devil Rays in '97 and prospect with them enough to send me out to Hawaii for the winter ball program, and then did really well out there. That got me a job in Venezuela right when I finished that. And then come spring training, they sent me. I didn't make the big league club here out of spring training, but they wanted to keep me, and they had to pay me a certain amount of money because I was a free agent. So they sent me to Mexico, and I played over in Mexico.
Do you have the old Devil Rays uniform? Do you have anything Devil Rays still?
I only have the one that they gave us for throwing out the first pitch. I don't have that Devil Ray
sad
one.
day.
No.
Dang.
Don't. I have baseball gloves that have my name on it. And
They don't
stuff
let
like
you
that.
keep the uniforms or
No.
anything?
No, don't
What?
have that.
No
That's
souvenirs?
lame.
Don't have
I was like, oh man, you probably have
Yeah, I did-
the OG Devil Ray symbol on stuff.
I did forget about that. I did want to ask you about that. You and Matt did get recognized by the Rays,
Yeah.
and you did get to throw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
And I was there, and it was a pretty damn good pitch.
No, it wasn't.
Well, I was saying,
I was getting a lot of grief about beforehand.
I was in the stands,
Okay.
and I had had a couple beers, but where I was sitting, it looked okay.
It could have been a lot worse, but everybody kept calling me and said, "You ain't got a hair if you don't throw it hard.
Right.
You got to throw it hard."
Like the old days, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, well, I don't know if I got it in me to throw it hard. I ain't picked up a ball in 10 years, whatever. And so I went out when I was working the night before. I went out and threw a little bit in a park, just threw them into the fence.
Yeah.
Just picked up some balls that were sitting in a batting cage and let me see if I can get it
Throw
out of
it,
my
yeah.
hand. And it wasn't going good. So when I threw the pitch, I was like, I just want something he can catch.
Yeah.
Because my arm's not loose or extending the way it used to.
Right.
So yeah, at least it was something that didn't get anybody hurt.
That looked okay to me. I didn't look at it on the Jumbotron, but that was cool.
The Cleveland Indians ended up picking me up eventually and finished a year with them. But then at that time I finished a year hurt, and I thought, man, this whole waking up every day wondering if I'm hurt or if I'm injured and if my arm going to last, and
Yeah.
I'm playing year to year, and I'm not getting that big 3-year contract, because that's what you're waiting for at that time. 3-year contract, and then you're good. You can
Right.
retire out of that, because it's going to be at least a couple million probably. My agent told me to let's go ahead and there's a camp that the Korean baseball league is holding here. A bunch of guys from all over the world are going to come here and try out for these spots in Korea, and they're going to have a draft at the end of it. So I ended up taking part in that camp and got drafted at the first round out of that camp for a team in Korea. And I was hoping that would springboard me to Japan, because that's where the big money was. I made 6 figures in Korea, but I could get $500,000 a year in Japan. So there's an opportunity to retire out of the game there. So when I didn't throw well enough in Korea, so when I came back. I was really worried that, I don't know if I'm going to continue to keep playing, living out of a suitcase, going overseas now. This is getting a little bit.
Seems like a lot.
I got to start. Yeah, now I'm like 27, 28 years old, and I'm thinking, I need to do something else.
So you decide it's time to try something new, and you kind of go back to law enforcement.
Well, yeah. When I was here, I had a contract to go to Taiwan the next year, and so in 2000, me and my agent had negotiated this contract in Taiwan. And I really was reluctant to go, but the money was going to be really good. So I was like, I'll do one more year overseas. And if that don't springboard me to a multi-year deal somewhere, I might consider closing it up. Mm-hmm. And I ended up, I waited for this contract to come in. My bags were packed. My agent said, be ready. You got to get on a plane once we get it faxed to us. And he didn't call. And I waited and didn't call. And then I called him and he didn't answer. Then I'm like, oh, what's going on? My bags are packed. I'm supposed to leave tomorrow. And finally he calls me back and he says, we got a problem. The team got popped for gambling. They have a big gambling problem in Taiwan. And he goes, team's been suspended. We don't have a contract now. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? Spring training was already full up here. This was February about February. And I thought, call around here to see if somebody's going to take me in for camp. And everybody's full. Mm-hmm. So I thought, there's some writing on the wall there. If you don't make a spot for me, then I must not be in demand. And at this time, I'm a short right-handed pitcher.
Right.
That has been okay enough for the last 3 or 4 years. I wasn't the top prospect anymore. So I go, you know what? While I'm waiting to hear, some team's going to call at some point. A pitcher's going to get hurt somewhere. They're going to need a gap filled in AAA somewhere, and I might get. My projection is best case scenario. I'll play 3 or 4 years in the big leagues, and now I'll be aged out. Somebody's got millions of dollars being invested in them right now. They're going to take my spot. So 3 or 4 years is best case scenario, and that's going to be hard to retire off of. So. I go, you know what? I'm going to go down while I'm waiting. I'm going to go down to police academy. And I went down to the PASS program and said, just what does it take? And I still planned on going to play baseball. I figured agent's going to call any day. I'll
the PASS office down at SPC? And okay.
Yeah. So I went down there, and next thing you know, they're like, well, you can just fill out this paper and take this test and do this and do that. And I'm like, I'm still going away to play baseball, but while I'm here, I'm doing nothing right now. I started just haphazardly just doing it and filling everything out. And next thing you know, I'm passing this and I'm passing that. And they're like, hey, you want to do this? You can go. We got an academy starting. And I'm like, man, I still haven't got a phone call. So the Rocky contract that I had still was paying for my schooling. So it was being paid for.
Nice.
I'm like,
dang.
Hell yeah.
I guess I'll do it until my agent calls and says we got a contract somewhere. So I ended up starting the academy, and then next thing you know, I was all in. I was like, yeah, I'm done with baseball, and this is fun.
So did you have any standouts with the academy because and I guess we should touch on a little bit. You mentioned, growing up, seeing cops, come through the neighborhood, taking care of business. Obviously, because you talk about it very matter of fact, and I was like, oh, it's just the way it was. But I mean, it made it hard to live in the neighborhood and all those things. So it is a problem that we fortunately don't have any of at that level in Pinellas County.
Thank God.
So that was really it. It was just the ability to go in and address this and stand up to these folks to kind of get your neighborhood back. That prospect of doing that is what it was all about.
Absolutely.
So what was fun in the academy? It's quite a strange trajectory, really, because you have the interest, but kind of aren't. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when you're driving around or you're looking at paying extra attention to cops and things like that, but beyond that, you go from playing baseball to
you could only do it in that order. You can't do it in the other order. Right. So I think you made the right choice.
I'd say
you can't do your 20 years in law enforcement and then go play professional sports. So.
Yeah, it felt, it was just it was so exciting having the power that you have, or having the decision making of how things are going to turn out. Because growing up where I did, being white in a predominantly non-white area, you didn't have decisions that you could make a whole lot of. You had to make decisions to stay out of trouble and stay out of environments, not necessarily change anything.
Right.
And in law enforcement, we have the ability to change a scenario.
Right. In a positive way.
In a positive way, and say, okay, well, this is all bad. We're going to fix this.
Right.
And that was fun. That was fun. And then just the whole getting to drive cars fast.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And shoot, you like shooting?
I love shooting, and that was good too. So
Did you grow up shooting?
I
or?
did. Yeah. My dad I was fortunate that he's into hunting and fishing. So I grew up bird hunting. We had there was a pheasant club far out of the city.
That sounds very ritzy.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But it was a lot of
like
empty land. It was a lot of empty land that they planted birds on, and we were able to go out there. And I ran around on the weekends with my dad and shot shotguns with that. And then I was able to shoot handguns out there too. And so I grew up hunting and fishing and being exposed to all that. Yeah.
So it's natural when you were at the range here, and
Yeah. It was. I was comfortable with all that. And it was fun.
Any issues in the academy? How were you academically?
Oh, in the academy, I excelled.
Really?
Yeah, because I was interested.
There's a drive.
There it is,
I
yeah.
was interested. We'd spend 8 hours at the academy. I'd come home and I'd study, and I'd practice drawing out of the holster, and I did it all because I had already established in myself that I wanted to be polished and proficient in everything, and that's where back to baseball helps, is that at the level of AAA big league, the only difference is not your talent level, it's how much polish is on your game. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to have attention to detail in what you do if you want to excel. Mm-hmm. And everything about excelling in professional sports is being just a little hair better than the next person.
Right.
And then you get your spot. That's the same thing in the academy. I wanted to make sure that I was polished and I wasn't that guy. That you don't want to be, or had to focus on it. It would be like, all right, he's squared away. We won't have to worry about him.
Was there a point where you kind of just forgot about baseball because you were so into?
Yeah, I didn't think about it for probably. I still think about it.
Sure,
but I was so interested in learning and being involved in the things in law enforcement world for a good 5 years in this game. That I never really regretted it, the decision I made. I think that, there's still times where I'll have dreams in the middle of the night or think that maybe I should have gave it a little extra time or whatever. But for the most part, if I was a betting man, I made the right decision.
So obviously you put yourself through the academy. Well, the Rockies paid for your academy, and you didn't. When did you get hired by the sheriff's office? Was it after you completed the academy?
Yeah, at that time, the sheriff wasn't hiring out of the academy.
Okay,
he wasn't sponsoring anybody through, and maybe if you were in corrections, but I don't think so. I think you had to get all the way through yourself. Yeah.
And did you always have your eye on the sheriff's office, or
no? At that time, I had to really weigh out a bird in a hand or two in the bush because I knew in the academy, it seemed like I liked the uniform the sheriff had better than all the other uniforms, and that's important to look sharp.
You like polish, yeah. I was gonna say.
Were they white back then?
They were white.
The white,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the instructors that were around there were, I thought their uniforms, they looked the sharpest, and they seemed to be more sheriff's office people there than other agencies. So I thought, well, they're probably pretty sharp. They're probably most knowledgeable. They're over here teaching all the time. Yeah. And I also heard about, budget-wise and being taken care of and the training here and the opportunities for a large department. I had Pinellas Park invite me in on a ride-along early on in the academy. And fortunately, no disrespect for Pinellas Park, but they're a smaller department. And fortunately, they dropped the ball and they never called me to start the hiring process. And Clearwater and the sheriff's office were going to interview on the same day when the academy was ending, and there was a conflict, and I had to kind of pick which time I was going to only had one time slot. Which am I going to go to? And the sheriff's office, I picked the sheriff's office, and I don't regret that at all. This has been a great choice.
And what year was that? So
that would have been 2000.
Okay,
yeah.
So how'd it go? It's just such an interesting path to talk about because other people that we've talked to, it's like, grandparents this, or, grew up around it, whatever, but you're just like, I watch Westerns. I saw them in the neighborhood. Like, let's go. So how did it go? I mean, what were some of the things was there anything that you were kind of like, well, I didn't expect that, or I didn't see that coming, or, how was FTO? FTO was interesting on my first phase. My first phase was so you go through all your training and you're ready to go. And I could not wait to
to get out and put the cuffs on somebody for real. And I thought that was just going to be that's how much better is to hear that clank and grab somebody and put them in cuffs. And I couldn't wait for my first foot pursuit. I just couldn't wait for that because that's the yummy stuff.
The yummy stuff.
But when I got out of FTO, I got put on day shift out at Madera Beach. And
not too many foot
Was that
pursuits
sleepy?
there.
Yeah. Well,
was that for FTO or when you were on your own?
that was in FTO phase one.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, phase one. And that was just, I got to learn how to walk around in public in uniform. I got some lunches, then how to order lunch while you're in uniform. And I got to learn how to work the MDT. At that time, we had the MDTs.
Which is basically an etch-a-sketch.
Yeah. But it had a whole little network of stuff, how to log into that. That takes some time. Don't worry about that. So phase one basically was that.
Maybe it was by design that way. So
Maybe. So I learned how to drive and look at the MDT and look like a cop out there.
Did you ever get your foot pursuit in Madera Beach, though?
Yeah, that was a good one. So I did get that, and the thrill that came out of me when this happened. So we stopped out with a suspicious vehicle behind the Publix there as you go on to the causeway. And it was a guy and a girl in the car. They're sitting there. We pull up on them. We get them out of the car, and we're talking with them. And I'm tasked with running the male driver's license. So I go back into the car and left my door open so that I could hear and see everything that's going on. And I'm trying to figure out how to run this 1029 on the MDT. And as I'm trying to remember how I'm supposed to do this, I hear my FTO grab something out of his mouth and hold it up and goes, "You got crack?" And he had a little plastic bag of crack underneath his tongue. And immediately when he identified what the guy had, he took off running. So, I mean, like the thrill of that was just like, now's the time. I went through the academy. I went through all this training and I get to run.
This is it.
So
I feel like this is what a canine thinks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was a foot pursuit, and this guy was quick, but I've just come out of playing ball and running
match
myself,
for you.
and I knew he's quick, but he ain't gonna run. That's for me. That is my forte. Is that you may run faster than me, but you ain't gonna run faster longer.
Right.
I'm gonna catch you eventually.
Right.
You're just gonna keep on at this pace until
While you get
fall.
gassed out, I'm coming.
Eventually you're gonna drop.
Yeah.
So I was able to jump over a hedge, cross Doomy Road
Cinematic,
there,
wow.
and ended up tackling him by the storage unit in Walgreens over there, and it was absolutely
Did your FTO
everything
come
I
with you?
wanted to be. FTO was way back there somewhere. And then the other deputy ended up grabbing his car and getting over there. But when he jumped out of his car, he rolled his ankle. He broke his ankle on that. So we had a hurt deputy. And I got to do a tackle and a foot pursuit.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I'm like, this is where I belong. This is a good job.
And that was all.
That's when it kind of clicked for you.
Yeah, that's when it
where I'm
clicked.
supposed
Like
to be.
this is good. And then I had to start thinking about the paperwork afterwards, what all that is. But then I realized, and at that time, and especially in K-9 and later on in my career, you realize just how important that part of the job is.
Documentation and everything.
That's huge. Yeah.
So how did the rest of it? I mean, that was all in phase one. How did the rest of it go?
Well, fortunately, I had Jeff pricing in phase two.
Okay.
And
Jeff.
he put me into everything.
Yeah.
We were down in Lillman, and we got out, talked with everybody. We took every single call there was. It was a long nights, a lot of reports. But by the time I got done with him and I went up north for my third phase, the FTOs could just sit back and relax from there on. I felt real comfortable in making decisions and operating the vehicle. And bottom line is I realized nothing has to be perfect. You just use common sense and be decisive.
Was there anything that you didn't expect or that kind of caught you off guard? Anything you were like, ooh, did you ever have a moment where you're like, this isn't for me at any of that time period?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. I can't recall a moment where I felt like this wasn't for me.
Maybe just the report, all the not fun paperwork side of it.
Stuff is, there'd be times like when I moved on to narcotics, the reports had to be extremely detailed and they wanted them a certain way. And that's where I was like, struggling with this part.
Yeah, can I just go get bad guys?
Yeah.
Right?
The
Yeah.
whole paperwork thing is not that fun.
And that's all to help make sure like the convictions.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
just as important as the other
Right.
side of it.
Yeah, and it's a skill in of itself, but it does take time to develop and to understand what it's going to take to make a case, and that's what makes a good cop. You got to be able to make a case. Don't waste a bunch of paper and people's time by not making a good charge.
Right. So what was first specialty? Was it
Yeah.
SWAT for you?
SWAT. Yeah, so I went through probation, and just as I was
still 1 year back then.
Yeah.
Right?
1 year,
Okay.
yeah. And there was a SWAT team tryout that was posted, and I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know if they would ever take anybody that's only been here a year. And I talked with another guy in my squad that was had many years in law enforcement, and I asked him, what do you think about me trying out for SWAT? Do you think they'll take me, or I'll have an opportunity to go on that team? And he's like, Pinellas County's got a really good team, man. Usually you need about 5 years, but doesn't hurt to try out. So my thought when trying out, it was, I'm gonna get the experience, understand what it's going to require for the next time they have a tryout. I'll be ready, and they'll take me. And fortunately, though, when I tried out, I ended up getting taken.
Got the team.
Yeah.
So how was that?
SWAT was a real good fit for me, especially at that time. I didn't have children or anything, so I had the time to take in everything that they had. Went to SWAT school, ended up being voted top SWAT cop out of the SWAT school, and really boosted my confidence that hey, this is for me. And then plus this is what really helped me with the transition from baseball to law enforcement. Getting into those specialty units was something that you're back to being on a team. That part was what I was used to. So I didn't miss baseball because I had another team.
The team environment.
Yeah. So when I got on SWAT, the first year you're learning. And then once you start getting a little comfortable, you're part of a team again. And it's like, this is a fit.
Heard there was, you guys had a SWAT scenario that you did like a training deal in Tropicana Field.
Yes.
That must have been different.
That was different.
On the other side,
So here I was used to playing on the field, and I had to go through one of the doors and the stadium and all that stuff in a totally different scenario. And I hadn't been there, for a year and a half or whatever. And I ended up getting picked to lead the element that we're dealing with. We had a hostage sniper scenario in there, and I got picked to lead the teams going through. And going in there and then being in that environment when I was on the field looking up and then that looking down, it was a different way of looking at things. But that
must
was
have been
good.
interesting. Like it's like looking at your old career from the new one. Like
It takes some getting used to. Yeah, but it was still all positive things. So no hurt there.
So you were a sniper?
Yeah, eventually, yeah. I think I was on the team for probably a year and a half, and then I got on the sniper team, and then eventually was a ATL on that team.
ATL.
Alternate team leader.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what does it take to be on the, because obviously within SWAT, there's different areas. So it's just basically we have the interest in that area, you can try to pursue that, or?
Yeah. One, I was proficient with shooting, so that helped. But if you wanted the other stuff, if you wanted to, work with simunitions and, all the other specialties, that took availability, and we had availability on the sniper team. We didn't need anybody else in those other things. So we needed a body over there, so I took the spot.
Nice. Was there any like notable SWAT call-outs during your time?
The Solomon case, that's D-Bolt's debacle he got us into.
Oh, his fault, huh?
Nice.
He seems to get into a lot
He
of
is a
stuff.
magnet, yeah.
Yeah, that one. We had charges. He had a case, narcotics case, that he had charges on this guy, and we had hit the house before, so we knew the intel. We knew he had it barricaded home and all that. So we briefed on this. We were in a parking lot nearby. We had surveillance on the house 24/7. We were trying to get the guy when he left the house, but somehow he was on to us and never left the house for several weeks, I think, because we had to refresh the warrant a couple times, I believe. And all this time, the entry team, we were rehearsing in the parking lot for weeks, and finally, it comes the time where we're going to do a ruse at the door, and we're going to. We had 2 of our members go up with Terminex shirts or whatever, and we're going to grab him real quick if he opened up the door, and then the team was going to make entry. Well, he had cameras and all that stuff, and we were staged on the corner of the house, and when the ruse didn't work, team decided to go ahead and move in anyway, and we were going to breach the door. So we move up to breach the door. We start knocking and announcing, and shots start ringing out at us. And he come to find out, he went to a lower level in the back of the house, and he had an automatic rifle that he started firing at us. Everybody fell down at the front door.
Which is not part of the plan,
Which is
right?
not part
That's
of the plan.
not what you rehearsed.
We had rehearsed time and time again to back up as a team.
Right.
Here we're going to back up out of here as a team.
Nope.
Use the shields, use cover, and all that. As soon as those shots started firing, everybody rolled onto the ground and started hightailing it out of there. And I jump over a hedge. I was at the end. I was on the tail end because I'm throwing flashbangs right and left off the side of the house. And when I saw everybody's going down, I jump over the hedge. And as soon as I hit the ground, the only first thing that we've been trained on is you don't leave anybody behind. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I hit the ground, I realized Randy Corlette's right in front of me. And he was right in front of me in the stack, or I saw him go down. So I'm jumping back over the hedge to get him, and he's long gone. And now I hit the ground and came right back up to go get him, and
He had already taken off.
However he motivated his body to get up out of there, he moved fast because he was long gone. I looked left and right, he was
Disappeared.
He was out. Yeah. So fortunately, nobody got hit on that one.
Yeah.
And we were good.
So SWAT, you end up leaving SWAT eventually, and then what was next?
Well, during that time with Narcotics.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in Narcotics and SWAT at the same time.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. So I went into Narcotics about 1.5 years here. I was on the team for about 6 months, and then went into Narcotics again. The same thing with Narcotics. Interview came up. I thought, they're not going to take somebody that ain't been here 5 years, But why not try out, or why not interview, and then just see what they're, what it's about, and then I'll be ready for next time. And I got the job, so lucky there.
What was that just because it was an opportunity? You had an interest in,
again, another one of those things that I always wanted to do. I do not like being on the outskirts of this. I want to be in the ring. I don't want to be on the
perimeter guy.
This is not fun to be sitting on the outside of this. I want to be in the game. The game's in there, know. So that was one moment where I realized I want to be part of law enforcement. I don't want to be on the sidelines. So Narcotics is a world in which everything revolves around narcotics. If you want to fight crime and you want to be a part of things, Narcotics is the place.
So that's an interesting thing to say, that narcotics really is the center of everything, and if you really want to address crime, because there is of course the notion that it's a waste of law enforcement's time to be chasing down drug dealers and those. There's just that narrative out there, and it's been out there a long time, since the 80s with the war on drugs and all that stuff. But it really is. I mean, it's the nexus. I mean, everything goes back to it.
When you're in that world, you're in everything. That, especially if you're going to deal it, you're not just dealing drugs. You're doing other crimes along with it.
Right.
And the people you're associating with are suspects in other crimes. So the world is really a interesting world.
It's a whole other world.
And I felt comfortable with that, and I used my the way I dressed when I was there. I got the big baggy Dickie pants and Dickie and 2 sizes too big. I wore my California boys outfits out here in Florida.
The ones you couldn't wear?
Yeah, the stuff I couldn't wear out there, I wore out here.
They can see me now.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I got to be the boy on the corner. Like I didn't like.
Finally.
What was the rest of the look? Did you have the long hair? Did you have piercings?
I tried the long hair, and I did not like that. I don't like the feeling of that on my neck, so I shaved it down. I ended up bicking it, and I took it down bald for the most part. I tried the long hair for a while, but that's too,
not for you.
Too icky for me.
Too much work. Did you have any big notable cases in Narcotics?
I think my best one that I'm proud of is the conspiracy to commit murder case. I had an informant that called me on a weekend and told me that they were hanging out doing some drugs and with a guy and his girlfriend. And he said they were talking about murdering their source. And they're actually going to go through with it, man. He was really adamant. He goes, they were hollowing out potatoes to use as silencers. And I said, well, I guess, yeah, maybe I've seen that on TV once before. But from what you're telling me, we can't ignore this. So I'm going to come in and we're going to make some phone calls. So we made some controlled phone calls and confirmed this guy's telling the truth that this is an actionable thing. So we get with supervision, we start working the case. I end up getting some buys into the house using the CI. And
in the meantime, does somebody warn the other guy?
Not yet, not yet, because we ended up getting charges on him because he delivered one time during our surveillance, and we ended up getting charges on him, and got PC for the apartment they were living in over in High Point. We ended up hitting the house, arresting them. And found the potatoes. They still had them. They had 2 potatoes hollowed out.
The potato suppressors and evidence.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they admitted it, and they're both in prison right now for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a good case.
What if they were like, I was just going to make some fries?
Yeah, I think the girlfriend ended up being the best source on that because she pled first, and I think she wanted to dry up and sober up, so she ended up pleading and putting the boyfriend in. So. Because his case took a long time to come through.
I would have had to test the potato suppressor.
Well, that's what I'm like, would that work?
I'm curious now.
Would that work?
I'm going to have to search YouTube. I'm
I'm
sure it's there somewhere.
sure it's on YouTube somewhere. They found it somehow.
I poked around, and apparently, like anything that sort of can contain the gases can dampen the sound. I mean, it's not going to be a silencer. It's going to be a suppressor. But like you can make a contraption of wadded up paper. I think.
I'm sure it can still be a lethal shot. You're just not going to be able to be accurate very far.
Yeah. Right. So. Wow.
But yeah, that was a good case.
That's weird.
What and K9 was next for you?
K9 was next.
So where did because it is a specialty, but it's a big commitment. Yeah, a really big commitment. So what drew your interest to K9?
I had been working in the tactical unit, which is our evening. At that time, narcotics was evenings and day shift, which is our strategic was day shift. So I moved over about a year before I went to K9 to strategic, and was learning about that, working with some of the old timers that had I was trying to absorb as much as I can from them. But when the opening came up, so I was still growing in the narcotics world. But when K9 came up, it was one of those things where I recognized that when you get older, may not be able to do as well or have the longevity in that career. So, and it was another thing. I grew up again with my dad hunting pheasants and all that stuff. So I grew up with dogs, and really enjoyed that part of the relationship between handler and dog. And so I was like, even though I'm happy here in narcotics, these positions don't come up that much. Right. And I'm in my 30s. I better jump on this while I can. And so I ended up trying out, and I got the spot.
Nice.
And it fit me like a glove. That was more of my forte than anything else that I have done. That world was love K9. Love it.
What was the thing about it that
the adrenaline? The adrenaline that you get on a track, the rush you get out of that, there's just nothing compares to it.
You're really paralleling with the things that Matt said.
Same thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you're like the closer finally.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the way I approached my K9 career. Is I related it a lot of times to my baseball career. If you hand the ball over to me, the ball, I got to close this stuff out.
Mm-hmm. And coach,
even though that in law enforcement, once K9 gets called in, you may have already you're losing the game. We've already lost our bad guy. Mm-hmm. We can't find him. So you're saving the game in that respect, because if without the dog, we ain't finding him. until the Eagle got all their equipment.
Right.
Now
we
got to share the glory a lot of times. But back then, when they didn't have their fancy camera, we had to deuce the dogs. Now they're able to find them themselves a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have any notable catches? I mean, I'm sure you had a lot of notable catches, but any stand out?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, as far as that's the thing about notable. If you talk to a canine handler,
right,
you could have a minor misdemeanor and it be a fabulous track,
right,
where everything just works out.
Works,
you track for miles and you've really worked it really good, and you really feel real proud about that. But the charge is battery or something like that, petty theft,
right,
and that could be your best catch, But then you get a murder suspect that. You may not have used all your tools in your bag, but that's the big one, and that one was rewarded. I did get from what I understand, it was the longest manhunt that Pinellas County has had. Homicide suspect that stabbed his a drug source in Ridgemore.
Oh, that's right. The Publix parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That one, we ended up sitting on him. I think our TAC unit was on his mother's house. And they ended up spotting his mom trying to get him out of the area, and he took off running through the John Chestnut Park. Unfortunately for everybody else in the unit, I happened to be off that day, and I was in a movie, and my sergeant at the time, Randy Corlett, was calling me because he was calling everybody out because we got the whole John Chestnut locked down now. And the whole area around, multiple units on it, and everybody's been out there for hours, and they're searching everything. And
you're sitting comfortably in the air conditioning.
In an AC movie theater.
What movie?
Remember? It was. I think it was Sniper, wasn't it? Yeah.
American Sniper.
American Sniper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, American Sniper.
That was a good one.
So, so it got my juices. Once the movie ended. And I had it on silent and in my pocket, and I didn't realize I was getting a phone call. So the movie ended, and I check my phone, and I see, Sarge called me several times. So I get him on the phone. He goes, "I need you to go home, get your dog, come out to John Chestnut Park. We've been out here for 12 hours looking for this guy, and come on out here. Everybody's coming in." Okay. So I get there, and I link up with another handler. We take a little section of the park, and I'm with him as backup. And we basically said, now, park's clear. He definitely isn't in here. He's got to be in the neighborhood neighboring it. So put together a game plan, and we decided everybody gets a little piece with their dog, and we're going to break this down to section by section and clear everything. And my section, I ended up working my dog, and I fortunately got a track where the guy was trying to break perimeter, but we had a perimeter car out there that kept him from jumping a wall and getting out. And we track him to a screened-in enclosure. And at this time I didn't see him, but my dog's alerting to the enclosure, and I jump in, I peer through the doggy door. There's a doggy door there, and I can see him now. The guy's inside there trying to pull on the slider to get in the house. And so I send the dog in, and I'm already on my knees, so I go through the doggy door with him instead of trying to bust the door because it was locked.
How do you get through with your gear on?
I don't know. I just pushed straight through.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. I don't know how we got through it, but we got through it. And then we ended up taking him down.
What was your dog's name?
Chief.
Yeah. Chief. That's
so
right.
I had two dogs. I worked Valor and Chief.
Right.
But Chief was the one I had on that one.
Yeah.
Was the house occupied when the guy was breaking in?
Yeah, actually was. Had a single elderly female in there.
Oh, that would have been bad.
That would have been bad if we could
had a hostage.
Pinpoint that house, or had he been able to make access. That would have been a tough one to deal with, and who knows what he would have been capable of doing. So, that was rewarding. But it was unfortunate for everybody else. They're out there sweating
all day,
wet.
and they didn't
been
you're all
forever.
fresh, and you come in on
save the day.
Yeah, I think I might have been out there for a half hour.
Damn.
Just lucky on that one. Yeah.
Slept through most of it, and then show up and save the day.
Yeah.
So your first dog was Valor, you said?
Yeah.
How long did you work?
I worked him for 7 years.
Was he straight German? Or?
Pure German Shepherd. Yeah. Very, very, very good dog. Won field trials with him in the novice competition. He was a great dog. Great
Yeah.
dog. My second dog, Chief, he had some quirks to him. Wasn't he's extremely driven, just as high drive, and when he was focused, very, very good. But he's kind of quirky, he's kind of weird dog. He's still at home. He's been enjoying the retirement life for a long time.
Oh, yeah?
About 13 now. So,
Wow. Still
yeah.
going. That's
Still
great.
going. Yeah.
Any other notable canine calls? Or
So we had a call where the guy had ran, deputy had already got hurt. I think he pulled his ACL or something. He was on the front yard when I got there in pain, and I started tracking the suspect. And I get a couple of houses in and is jumping a fence. Well, I'm at the very peak of a wooden stockade fence, and it busts totally out from under me. Well, somehow the dog was on the other side. Chief was on the other side and spun me to a way where I came down straight vertical and landed flat on my head. And when I hit the ground, I knew, I was like, I just was very confident my neck's broke. And I kind of just supported my forehead into the dirt there and got on the radio to let them know that I broke, I think I said an explicit on the radio too. Broke my neck.
not allowed.
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And dog was out running around in the backyard. Fortunately, the fence was closed. So ended up getting secured, and fortunately, it was a really, really bad sprain, but not broken. But that
Must have been terrifying that moment lying there.
that moment lying in this, being as physical of a careers and life that I had, to lay there that moment and think my life has changed.
Yeah.
And I was convinced that I'll never be able to live life like I have. And it was an eye opener. That one was an eye opener, and I was very, very blessed in that one too. Very fortunate that it did not break. The doctors thought that it was broke when I had a follow-up appointment. So the hospital cleared me and said no break. I went to the specialist the next day, and they got the images and sent me home. Then as soon as I got home, they called me and said, come back, we think your neck's broke. So I come back, and they take a deeper look, and by that time they realize, okay, no, it don't look like it's broke. So they put me through.
Emotions. Holy
You're
cow.
like, I'm good. Woo.
put me
And then
through
it's like,
Nope,
what?
just kidding.
Yeah, but the whole time, I'm moving my toes and all that stuff. I'm walking, I mean, in a lot of pain, but
Right.
if it's broke, maybe it'll heal.
It's almost like we needed you here for another reason.
Yeah,
Someday,
maybe.
right?
Something.
Yeah.
With your dogs, they're patrol certified, and then they're usually bomb or narcotics certified. What about Valor and Chief?
Both mine were narcotics.
That would
Would
have
have
been my guess.
guessed.
That would
Yeah.
make sense, yeah.
I was curious.
Both mine
So-
were narcotics. Yeah.
Did you get to do any good busts with them, or
Sure.
I'm not sure what that.
I had one that was one fun one, a search warrant that actually our Marine unit did on a house. There was dope hidden in a foosball table in the house, and they had already served the search warrant. They went through everything. They had the VHS tapes pulled out, and they really did a detailed search. But this guy had his coke hid up in the foosball container, and they'd never found that.
Right.
But fortunately, even after all the contamination of people in there, Chief ended up going in, and we ended up alerting to that foosball table. And I don't know how if they busted the foosball table or what, or if they just searched it a little more with detail. But we ended up getting a good quantity of dope out of that for a guy that was getting away with it. This guy
Right.
lived on the water, and
That's why I was like Marine unit. What,
Yeah.
like
Was it on an island?
Yeah.
yeah, I think it started what I understood how it started is they responded to a report of marijuana odor around this property, and when they showed up, they could smell it. That's the way I understand the PC, and then from the boat dock or whatever they had, and then they couldn't find any dope. And so, unfortunately, again, the use of a canine, they're indispensable. They're a wonderful tool for law enforcement. So.
Did you say it was cocaine though? That
Cocaine,
was in there?
yeah. Even though it was a marijuana smell,
Yeah.
cocaine is what we found.
Because generally they alert to marijuana, cocaine, and I think there's
heroin,
one more.
methamphetamine.
Heroin? Okay.
Yeah, now we've erased marijuana. off
Yes.
it.
Right.
Yeah, I remember Matt telling me that
Right.
before.
And for our studio audience, the dogs don't talk, so they can't tell us exactly what they're smelling. So with the amount of marijuana and stuff that's out there, they don't train them on those anymore.
Yeah. Makes
That was
sense.
something that a lot of people didn't think about, and probably still don't think about until just now. Is that dogs don't talk.
No.
They don't?
I'm sorry, Laura, to disappoint you. Santa's not real either. But
Well, that goes back to I probably should have picked a dog animal character for my favorite friend.
Oh, you
Yeah.
could've.
Oh, we've totally forgot to do that.
oh yeah, no, not yet.
Okay.
You may have forgotten so far.
You're saving up a good one?
No, I don't know. I forgot to. So then you, at some point, you take the sergeant's test because you are interested in
Well,
stressing yourself out more.
No, like I say, K9 was home for me. I really was comfortable. I had a good position being a corporal in the unit, but I thought it was time for me to step up, and I'm a senior guy now, and it was like, somebody needs to fill these roles, and it's time for you to step up. And so even though it wasn't my first, it wasn't a career goal to be promoted, because I was enjoying the job itself, but we do need supervisors in the right spot. So there comes a time where you think the big picture and then new challenges. So went that route and took the test and got promoted.
And the sheriff called you?
Sheriff called
You
me.
weren't watching a movie or anything?
No, no,
Right.
no.
You answered
This
the
time
phone?
I answered the phone, and that's always risky with all these spam calls that
Yeah.
keep going on. You never know because I try not to answer something that the name don't pop up.
Yeah.
But
Gotta
when
have
you're-
sheriff's number saved.
Yeah, you got to put them in there.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
I don't, so I don't do the accidental butt dials. Plus, he's not going to
wow.
call me.
Yeah,
'cause,
exactly. He's not
There's
calling
that.
I have butt dialed him a couple times.
Have you
I was
really?
like in the middle of doing like a text or whatever, and then something happens, and and then I hang up immediately,
Yeah.
and then throw my phone.
What? That didn't happen. What do you mean? Yeah. So you didn't become sergeant of K9 though, correct?
No. I knew that there was a risk that there's a chance I was going to have to leave. And I know the rule of thought is you don't want to supervise your peers. You want to break a time there. I understood that, and I was always hoping that I would go back within a couple of years. I didn't want it to be a lot of years. I just figured I'd go back eventually. But for some reason, Mike Killian don't want to leave the job.
I don't know if it's because it's that fun. I'm not sure what
I
his
don't
deal is.
know, but he's stuck around, and so I'm finding other avenues.
Yeah. So where'd you start as sergeant?
Patrol. So I left. I went to Dunedin first.
Okay.
Did a day shift run in Dunedin, and
It's got to be a little exciting.
it's different because
Yeah.
I had worked midnights for 18 years, or for a long time at that time, probably 14.
And to work on your
12
tan
years.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So big
Pasty
difference
white.
being around all the cars on the road and dealing with traffic crashes, things you don't have to deal with in K9. So yeah, that was different.
Kind of a different, not really the team aspect, right? You're more like the coach.
And that's that's where you're starting to evaluate people more, is who needs the coaching and who doesn't, and so it's a different perspective, and that's another part of the learning experience that I was looking for, new challenges, because I never had to. I do it within my unit, different guys,
Right.
and get a perspective and see how you can help them, but. Now I'm going into patrol setting and I ain't been to patrol
Right.
my whole career.
A lot. Not all right.
It's about.
Here I don't know how to fill out a traffic crash,
Which I would
form
say
and all that
is
stuff.
pretty unique, because even when you were talking about, being a basically brand new deputy, being able to jump into SWAT and stuff, that doesn't happen today.
Right.
No.
So it's just a different time.
Yeah.
But that had to be some culture shock, because you also, you had some pretty fun assignments.
Yeah.
So you probably felt like you were never
And what's
working
hard about
until
that,
then.
you're wondering what exactly is my job. I hope I'm getting this all done,
Well, as
because
long as
there is no book that
Right.
says this is your job. Really, there's it's all common sense and agency need. What does this unit need right now?
Yeah.
And you try to handle that.
Hopefully the sheriff's not calling you.
And you're trying to just make sure, did that deputy check all the boxes and do what he was supposed to do on that call? And
Right.
yeah, so that was interesting to go back into patrol because there was a lot and then everything had changed. We had laptops now. We had, and
Right.
even though I had that stuff in K9, we didn't use any of those softwares.
Right. Yeah. Now I was just learning a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I didn't know nobody really, day shift especially. We had at that time, we had some rotations of day shift that would go through, but I didn't see many of the day shift employees around here.
Right.
So
yeah, you're not.
Yeah, I'm on nights and I'm with the dog. So
right.
It was getting to know a whole lot of new people too.
Yeah.
But that made a lot of years go by fast, because it's all brand new.
I would imagine so. I think you made sergeant in 18.
Yeah.
I think. So then now you're at the airport.
Yeah.
Which is a whole different people. I imagine you'll say this too, but everybody I know that's ever gone to the airport is like, I had no idea what they do at the airport. Like there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So how did you land out there? That was an opening that was posted, right?
It was posted.
I didn't mean to do that, by the way, but
well, I was looking for. I was working an FTO squad on midnights, and just being in the car for a 12-hour shift, and my eyes, I'm getting older. So my eyes, I'm starting to wear glasses and trying to see things at night and look at the computer and be able to see the computer and then take your eye up from that and see around. Vision was starting to be a little bit of an issue and to struggle. So I'm like, you know what? I need a change. And I always enjoyed that team aspect. I enjoy special ops. I enjoy those units. So I wanted something different, and I was looking for anything different, really. I just wanted to change. And when this job came up, it sat in the queue for a while, and I'm like, oh, that's not. I'm not interested in that. I've never even thought about airport. But as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know when anything else is ever going to come up. And there's only for a sergeant, there's only so many options,
right?
And I'm like, I really want to change. Let me just call the sergeant out there, Lieutenant Calinden now, and see what the job's about and learn about it a little bit, see if it's something. And he sold me on it. He said, yeah, you're going to love it, and it's a good job, and there's this and that. And I said, you know what? Why not?
Something different.
He goes, but the posting has to be in tonight. You got to put your memo in tonight because they're looking at everything tomorrow. I'm like, well, that's a rough one. So I talked to my wife, and I said, what do you think? It's going to be a change because I'm going from midnights. I've been on midnights for 18 years now. What do we, am I going to go to day shift and let's see what this is? No, if you want to change, go for it. So,
yeah.
Fortunately, I got it.
You've been having fun out there.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you what, I'm used to being bit by bugs and sweating all the time outside and in the car, and I'm in the AC now. I got a desk. I've never had a desk before. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So the airport unit obviously is out at St. Pete Clearwater International, and the unit is kind of is responsible for security. You guys work hand in hand with TSA, but you're responsible you're the police force on the airport property. So any law enforcement matters that come up there.
That's right.
Anything else outside of that, really? Because you don't have the jail perimeter anymore, right? They split that off?
Yeah, it's just the airport. And what's interesting about it is for my position, and even the deputies that are assigned out there, you have to work in conjunction with TSA, with Allegiant, with the airport operations staff, and you're working as a public relations deputy as well. So there's so much, there's a community policing aspect to it.
Yeah.
And we look at it as a contract city. It's just a little small contract city. And there's a lot of variables that go into servicing it right. And I don't know if a lot of our other jobs have that. You're a cop all the time.
It's definitely unique.
It is. Yeah. And the AC's on all the time. Which
What are some of the things that y'all deal with out there? What's the routine things?
We'll deal with a lot of unruly passengers. They get on a plane. Allegiant don't like if they're intoxicated or if they're causing a problem on aircraft. We'll have to go on and remove them. We deal with a lot of the transients from Safe Harbor. We'll try to make that their Safe Harbor at times. So they'll come over and try to spend the night in the terminal or around the property, and we have to locate them and deal with them. I dealt with one in patrol that was an interesting deal that they called the patrol supervisor. I had squad 2, so I ended up being asked to come over there. we had a guy that was going through a mental episode. He was in crisis. He had his 6-month-old baby that he had been from Plant City or Lakeland. He had driven all around town all day. He hadn't slept for 2 or 3 days. His wife was calling saying that he's got the baby and there's a big bolo out for him. He went to Tampa Airport first, somehow decided to come over to Clearwater, St. Pete. And he was holding his child, but had thought that everybody was out to get him, that there was snipers over here and we were all conspiring to get him and hurt him. And that was one that, again, on that type of property, somehow everybody that's having an issue is drawn to an airport, it seems like. And this is one of them that, fortunately, we were able to work with his family to get people to us and get some trust and remove the baby. But there was a fine line there where we were putting together a game plan to try to remove that baby physically if we had to, without trying to
Hurting anybody, right?
But a very last case scenario.
If
But
you
to
had
have
to.
to plan for all that stuff in an environment like that. Fortunately, the airport was closed at the time. But yeah, we'll deal with those type of issues. People at the checkpoints that forget their guns, and they just. It's amazing to me how many people don't know where their guns are, and they find it in their left pocket, and they didn't know it was there.
That's a whole phenomenon that I just can't wrap my head around.
I don't get that one, but that happens quite often too. But,
And now, technically, you can be arrested for that, right?
yeah.
But
every
Common
scenario
sense.
is different.
Right.
Every scenario is different. If we do an interview and we see that this was just a lapse in judgment and a mistake, and
If they're legitimately idiots, then they might not get charged.
then we don't, we'll deal with that on a case by case basis. But again, the airport doesn't want us to go out there and try to seek law enforcement action on everybody. We try to
keep the
we
peace.
try to make sure that people can move in a safe way and get their trips in and out and keep it safe.
Were you haven't been out there about a year?
That's what I was going to ask.
Over since I think October, November.
Okay.
Last year, so 6 months. Yeah.
The last real bit of excitement out there, it's been a minute, was when that the guy crashed the gates and ended up on the C-130 somehow.
Yeah, that was just before I came out.
I was just impressed. I just thought it was impressive. I'm like,
It's wild.
yeah, slow clap.
It's amazing. Yeah, the airport's got plans to fix all that out there.
I bet
They got plans for their gates and all that stuff to be reinforced. That's one thing that they have done. TSA has mandated a lot, but airport operations out there, they take their security seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really on top of that, and it's a good place to be.
So you do security for everything that's on the airport grounds, like the Coast Guard station, the flight school, the private hangars, and anything that happens out anywhere on the property.
It's amazing. I didn't realize just how much property they actually have.
Yeah, it's a lot
They're
of property.
across the street as well, in those parking lots and different areas over there in the industrial area, and then everything out by the landings there, hangar, and everything around there.
How many deputies do you have?
I got 12.
Okay.
2 corporals and 10 deputies.
And then at any given time, how many are on?
2. We need 2 on site at all times for our contract, but I'll have, there's 6 working each shift, and I may have 4 or 5 on at a time, certain times of the day.
Right.
But we got 24-hour coverage, and we work 3 shifts, 12 hours. I work 8-hour shifts, 5 days a week. Yeah, because my main thing is to stay in contact with the administration and be their go-to if they need
Any
anything,
issues,
and then we pass it down the
Now, I
line.
imagine the Coast Guard, they have some security folks as well, or
They got security.
Right.
They don't have like
any kind of law enforcement
No.
piece. That's you guys.
us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
we handle anything they need up there. Which since I've been out there, they haven't had much.
Right. Well, they're like,
And then we also have the
Jake's
Army.
out there. We're not, we're not messing around.
Yeah,
Guy grew up with gangs. Not playing. It's good stuff. All right. Well, let's talk about the incident last year.
day.
Yeah, and kind of head towards wrapping it up, because I know you're tired of talking about it, but we got to talk about it because we talked about it with Matt, and we definitely want to hear your version of it that we can pull out of you compared to what's already out there. So you had have, obviously, the canine background, so you hear the call come out. You're working Squad 2, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You hear the call come out, and you're like, why not?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was listening to the call develop, and it got to a point where it seemed like we were getting a little thin on personnel because the guy kept getting seen place after place, and I'm like, all right, this perimeter is getting wider and wider, and we might need some more bodies down there. So I decided to go down there just to make sure that if I can plug a hole somewhere, then I'll come and help with perimeter. And then by the time I got down that direction, we had a fresh sighting, and he went into the woods. So, being the fact that he went into the woods and it was still daylight, there's a good chance he's going to stay in the woods. And when Matt gets there and gets on scene, he's going to find him in the woods. He's going to need another pair of hands to go 10-15. So I asked Matt if he wanted me to run with him, and he said, yeah, fortunately.
Yeah, best decision he ever made.
Yeah, yeah, that worked out good. There was divine intervention in on this all the way down the line.
No kidding.
So, very blessed that day.
Had you worked with Matt and Taco before?
Oh yeah. When he came into the unit, I think I was in there for 5 or 6 years before he came in, and when he came in, he was assigned to my squad, and I worked with him a lot, getting him used to working a dog, and gave him as much advice as I could, and he took to it like a duck to water. So
you had worked with him in Bosco, though, right? Had you ever tracked with Taco before?
I've never tracked with Taco before, so that was a new dog for
different
him. I was
kinds of
already out
styles?
of patrol. They were totally different. Yeah, that was a hardship on this one because I had talked to him about some of the struggles he was having in developing Taco, and he had to change his leash size. He had to work him a little different because Bosco was a tracker. He nose down and would run hard, and he'd stick to tracks. True, very good tracking dog. But Matt had to let him work at his pace, and he had to go at his pace, and work him. With Taco, being that he had a lot mal in him, he's head up, a lot more visual, and because he was more visual and his head was up, he would cast more. And if he was casting more, he had to use a longer line.
Yeah.
Instead of the 9-foot leash, he went to a 12 or 15-foot lead.
Cast.
Yeah, casting meaning he would bracket odor left and right instead of head down.
Okay,
working
so he's
ground
more
odor a lot.
grabbing like a waft or something.
Yeah.
higher
So he
upper
would
maybe.
go
Okay.
how the dogs trail. Basically, they're going to go to the outside of the odor, realize it's not there, and then turn back into the inside of the odor.
Okay.
So there's a lot more serpentining than straight tracking. So, being that this was the first call I had ever been on with him, and I knew that this was somebody who we've had the conversations. I knew why he was working with a long lead. I knew some of the, what he was doing with Taco, and we let him work at his pace. And as he's tracking through the woods, my job is to basically make sure he stays alive. I'm looking left and right, back and forth, anywhere he's not. And I'm not trying to watch his dog or what he's doing. I'm trying to look for danger areas because he's watching his dog.
Right.
So we get through the woods, and as we're at the back of the houses, I'm thinking, darn it, he's not in the woods. He was supposed to be here. Never guess we're going into the neighborhood. And anytime that we track out of neighborhoods, percentage of success kind of goes down a little bit.
Right.
Because who knows, now they hit hard pavement, they can go a long way real
Contamination.
fast. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes into play. But I can tell by checking Taco that we're going into these houses now. And I look at the treetops, and the wind is swirling all over the place. So there is no way of telling when he's going to alert to a hide. I know he's in odor, but if the guy's nearby and we can get downwind of him, we'll be able to identify that pretty quick if we're downwind. If we're upwind, then we're going to have a harder issue identifying a hide. The guy's going to have us all day long before we find him. So we had no hint as to which direction we're going to be looking for our danger area. So we work around the houses, and we get to this fence, and thank God this happened. Being that it was daylight savings time, I'm looking through the fence when Taco's indicating that he's going to jump the fence, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, all right, we're on the track, no doubt we're on the track, but do we have to jump here? Because it's open right around the other side of the fence.
And you don't like jumping fences.
And I
You had a bad experience.
anymore.
if we can avoid it, let's just avoid it. And then, but I'm looking at it, and he's going to go over with the dog. I'm like, okay, so we're going to go over. But then Matt starts pulling on the ears on top of the fence, and I'm hearing the rattling and the sharp barbs up top, and I'm wearing a patrol uniform, and I've been stuck in the groin many times by these sharp barbs at the top of these.
Sounds bad.
And it hurts.
Do not recommend.
No. So as he's pulling down the ears, I'm like, they must be sharp because he's pulling them down. And I'm still looking through the fence, and I'm going, it's open over there. And I'm like, his dog's already over, so he's going to go over. But
I don't have
honestly, I don't think I want to have to go over this. We're not that close,
Right.
because the dog was not indicating
Right.
that we're right here.
Right.
I'm going to go around. So as he goes over, I'm going to go around. And then I realize as I'm cutting over, I go, oh, darn it, there is a fence there. And I couldn't see it from the angle I had. So now we're going to catch up. So I jumped the fence, and next thing you know, now he's hard on a track. And we end up running across that idiot.
And that was a huge thing, too, that there was that distance and that pause. Because otherwise, you'd have been around in the corner together.
Yeah.
So
there was just enough distance that, one, I had something to try to get behind. Yeah, otherwise, if I had one more foot forward, I would have.
And he would have known you were there.
And he
because
would have
didn't
saw me.
necessarily.
Yeah, he would have
Because
saw
when
me
you
earlier.
had Matt already been shot when you came around the corner?
No, he hadn't been shot yet. So the first thing when he identifies and challenges the subject, I see an extended arm, from elbow out, from the corner of the building, and he shoots right when I identify the gun.
That's a gun, yeah.
It's right there. He shoots 3 times. I'm trying to unholster at a full sprint, and he turns to me before I'm able to break leather, and I'm like, okay, I got to get off the tracks here because he's got me. I'm behind the 8 ball.
Now, were you already running just to get to assist Matt with the challenge?
Yeah.
And then said, oh, that's a gun, and like that's all happening simultaneously.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I'm running to Matt, and I hear him challenge. I see him challenge toward the corner of the house. So my eyes go to the corner of the house, and that's when I see the arm extended with the gun. Immediately, shots, barrel at me. I can't break leather fast enough. The only thing I can do is get off the track. So I bail left. Fortunately, I didn't land on anything, and I got behind something. But again, as soon as I hit the ground, that was one. You've had all the decisions you're going to make. The fight's coming. So, fortunately for us, we didn't know it at the time. I didn't know it at the time, but Taco did everything.
Right.
So I'm assuming that the bad guy Zion thought that he had shot me. That's my guess. That I was
Because
out
he
of the
actually
game.
did get some shots off you.
He got 3 off at me, but I'm assuming that because when I came back up, his eyes weren't trained on me. He was focused on Taco. And when Matt and I played back the video to watch it together, we noticed that he's digging in his right pocket. And that's what we realized later, that's where that other 380 was. So he was getting that second gun out to shoot Taco, and thought that I was out of the picture. And fortunately, I think my body camera didn't catch it. It would have been cool if it did, but I think Taco knocked that gun out of his hand at the same time. Not only did he bite him, but I think Taco knocked the gun out of his hand.
Okay.
So the gun was on the second gun was on the ground?
Well,
The first gun.
The first gun, the gun he shot Matt with, was right where he shot Matt.
Oh, and then there was the other gun.
And
I
right
didn't know
where
that.
Taco
I didn't
engaged him.
either.
Yeah, that's what when we replayed it to look at it together. It was because when officers started getting into the backyard, I pointed to it and said, "Secure that," and pointed to where the gun was, and that's where the gun was. I didn't notice the 380, but I did notice that he was out of the game, so I didn't have to worry about that 380 at that time.
So you get up and you see that he's distracted.
He's distracted by
So
Taco.
you had gotten your gun out at that point.
Yeah.
When you jumped to the side.
Yeah.
So then you just took care
As
of
soon
business.
as I hit the ground, I was able to break leather and come back up. And my thought at the time was, I knew I had to take high shots. So the first 2 shots I took 5 shots total, hit him 3 times. The first 2 were upper mass shots. But I'm still at a distance now, and I wanted to make sure I continued to pressure him. I didn't want to give him a chance to think he's up. And from what I can tell from the post photos and autopsy, at least one of the two that I shot hit her upper mass, and then the other ones were headshots. But I had to close the gap to create the accuracy that I needed, and to keep the pressure. I wanted to just load him full of pressure so that he couldn't turn toward me.
That's a nice way to say bullets. I like it.
Yeah.
Very PR of you.
Yeah. But that was the thought process. Just apply all the pressure he's done. He's done thinking, he's done deciding, he's done acting. And we're going to just overload him and finish this.
And you said you needed to keep the shots high. Was that because you were thinking taco?
Yeah.
Or yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Because I mean, he's on a bite. He could jump. He can do all kinds. The guy can move him. So
even in that adrenaline, even in that crazy moment, you're thinking, I'm going to try my best to not shoot taco and just take the guy out.
yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, the sight picture is what it is, and
Yeah.
you know that I have a target. It don't, as long as I got, again, back to the fundamentals in training, as long as I got a good foundation and my structure is good, my shots should be accurate. So, and the bottom line is pressure. I wanted it to be on him. I didn't want him to have to be able to think. So.
Successful.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
And I just, the job that Taco did and the training that this agency does for working with these dogs under gunfire, that was huge. That I don't know if a lot of people appreciate. Taco had 6 shots fired over top of his head,
Yeah.
and the initial contact with the bad guy, and then he has 5 shots over top his head from me, and the fact that he was able to
kept doing his
that
thing.
bite and to do his thing, he could easily come off of that bite and come after me if he was gun aggressive. If the gunshots told him sight picture wise, that's my bad guy now, and this guy's no longer so much fun because that's a threat. So, but fortunately, he stayed on him and allowed.
He stayed on him for a while.
Yeah, he didn't want to let
wanna
go,
give
did he?
up. That was another thing that Matt told me later, because we used to when I was in the unit, every dog in the unit was switched to English.
Oh.
And we used the command out to get him to release. So I didn't know Matt had kept him in German.
Yeah.
And so he didn't understand a word I was saying. Not that he would have done it anyway. Underneath all the gunfire and bad guys and blood and all that stuff, he wasn't going to release that bite.
The dogs release easy in training, right?
It's really
but
easy in training.
It's a little different in
In
real
the
life.
real world, it's a little different. Yeah.
So, and I think that's just it. I mean, with the training piece, everything just went absolutely perfectly.
It did.
And had you ever pulled your gun out? Have you ever shot anybody before?
Yeah.
No.
Never had to go through those motions, and it just happened.
No, had a lot of
Was
had a
never
lot of
close?
possibilities.
Yeah.
A lot of people that check the box over the years. There's the people that check the boxes, but there's never been that time where I had to make that final judgment. There was one in patrol that I went to and assisted. I was in K-9 at the time, but I helped patrol. Guy was barricaded in a house on a domestic, and the girlfriend was out of the house, but we had to go in and get him. And we went in to get him. I found him in the bedroom. He was holding a fake gun that we didn't know at the time, but he was laying in his bed, and I started challenging him from the doorway, and he's yelling at me to kill him, and yelling at me to shoot him, and came up with the gun to his chin. And with his demeanor and his threats and with what I'm looking to be a gun, and right there, it was so close. But in that particular situation, it's something about just told me I got a little bit more time. One, I had a decent position to cover. I was in a door jam, but it was a decent position, and I thought I still have a second, and I was able to downgrade the situation, talk it down, and ended up getting him to give up. But at that situation, I was waiting for my backup behind me to engage him because he
make
had
a different call than
he had
you.
done everything.
Yeah.
But for me, it seemed like I still had a half a second to handle this a little bit different, and fortunately, it went safe. So.
That's a thing that happens, unfortunately, kind of regularly. No, like where
The
people
suicide by cop piece,
by
yeah.
cop.
Oh yeah,
People just they'll try to do whatever
They force
to make
you
it
into that
happen,
situation. Yeah.
But we avoid that.
And
as-
sometimes we can't. You
Yeah.
It's you or me.
and sometimes it's an unavoidable situation.
Yeah.
And but I love the fact that we do the CIT training.
Which is
Yes.
crisis and
Intervention
intervention training.
Yep. Okay.
That just understanding mental health, and that sometimes people in crisis, if you can recognize it, you may be able to not have a bad situation, because some people you're going to have that situation and deal with it in a lethal way. It's nothing we hope for. You don't want to ever have to live with that. I got no problem with this situation. This was a situation that was just unavoidable. But I wouldn't want to have to live with a situation that I had to second guess.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
There's no second guess on this one.
I think
No, this one's new. This one's brand new.
I think there's a perception sometimes, especially when we're talking about things like, oh man, I want that foot pursuit. Like I want that adrenaline, that sometimes people think that law enforcement really wants to have to take somebody out. Like they're just waiting for that day. And that's just
not the case.
No. No.
Nobody wants to go home.
That's exactly. It's a last resort. Like please don't make me have to do
there's
it.
a
But I
whole lot
will
of-
have to do it if it comes to it,
Absolutely.
which was this situation.
Right. And there's a whole lot of fun in this job, but the bottom line is the reward comes from being able to do good. There don't people that come into this job with ill will. There's just so many other avenues to go in life. If you have that motivation, this is a profession that has its rewards because it's fun, but the big picture is you're doing right. You're doing good for people. That's the hope. Is that, and fortunately for me, that's what I tried to preach in the FTO program, is the sheriff allows us a level of discretion. And we're out there making decisions on the street firsthand. We have the information. Deputies need to utilize the discretion in certain cases so that you can do a good job for these people. And that's what the reward is, And there's nothing better to go home and go, I made a difference in that person's life, and it could have went differently with a different decision maker. So
Well, and you got to put it all together with life experience and things, and which is something that we talk about frequently with the new generation of deputies and things coming in. Like, it's just important, and it's not their fault they don't have it.
Right.
It's just you're going to get a different outcome sometimes.
we have so many standards to get the job that sometimes it only allows us to hire people with no life experience.
Yeah.
If we hired people that maybe have had some trouble in the past, they got a better life
Trouble is a good
experience
teacher.
background.
Yeah.
Trouble is a good teacher
Absolutely.
for sure.
I like
Yeah.
that.
There's always alternate ways of handling things, like even in little situations, like the guy that you couldn't get to fold his legs to put in the back of the car,
There you
right?
go. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, so that particular one, it's just different ways of thinking outside the box of how to handle things. I had a guy that was really aggravating guy. He was drunk and angry at the world, and he wouldn't get in the car, wouldn't get in the back of the car. And there was ways to handle it. We can force him in, we could strike him, we could tase him, we can do all kinds of things.
That you're well within regulation.
All
to
within,
do.
He's checked all the boxes. We can make this decision and be okay with it. Or this particular situation, I thought the guy was he just so ridiculous that he wouldn't get in the car that I just I gave him a little Gucci goo in the ribs. I was like, get in the car, buddy. He's yelling at me. I'm like, Gucci goo. And he folded.
No.
He folded just enough that I was able to just fold him into the car because he had to give me that little kink.
So what level use of force is that?
That's
right.
a good one.
You have to do a blue team on tickling him.
Oh my goodness!
That's awesome.
Did
The
he give
gentle
you
assisting
for that,
touch.
like, afterwards? Like, are you serious, man? Like, or anything like that?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I just tickled you into compliance.
I can't remember him responding to it, but it
That's
was
awesome.
it was
That is.
definitely a different tact that we don't teach in the academy.
Yeah. Gotta think I love it. Gotta think
Whole
outside the
day
box.
just about tickling.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a distraction. It's a distraction.
tickling.
Distraction
Tickle,
True.
tackle it.
Yeah.
Tickle tactics.
Tickle
There you go.
tactics.
Say that 5 times
Perfect.
fast. Yeah. Yeah, it was Jake. We really appreciate you coming on and
Yes.
talking to us, and what you did was unbelievable on many fronts. Not only leading up to it, but afterwards, we coordinated everything. I mean, it is truly like nobody's going to ever argue to me that things don't happen for a reason, because we listened to Matt's story and how he came to how he ended up here. We listened to your story, how you ended up here, and there's a reason you guys both ended up there at the same time. And I don't even want to know what's next, but you guys are where you're at for a reason, and you're going to do great things. So we appreciate you coming on.
I know you and Matt are going around and debriefing on the situation, kind of doing these like trainings in other areas. And this may be something that we start to include in the podcast if we want, but do you have any words of advice for people that are in law enforcement? Is there it could be a brand new deputy, it could be a seasoned deputy, just is there some type of word of wisdom that you would pass on?
Make it personal. Make sure that everybody you're dealing with, that you say if this was a family member of mine, how would I deal with this? What would I say to them? And understand that you have discretion in the scenario. The people make the laws and they pass this stuff down and they try to cover everything, but it doesn't pertain to every different scenario. And just because it says something in black and white, and just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And that's the big thing that I tried to preach in the FTO thing. In anybody that I've just because you can, don't mean you should. Right. Look at the scenario. You're a human being just like everybody else. You're dealing with them in their worst days, their bad days, and how can we best serve this? Sometimes it means we got to use physical force and make something happen because that's just what the job calls for. And sometimes we can talk with an individual and rationalize with them and apply the law effectively that way. So if I would say the biggest advice is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
I like that.
The last thing we kind of always give everybody an opportunity to do is, what is something that you can share with the public to make your job easier? Generally, your current assignment, but if it's a general law enforcement thing, that's fine too. But just don't say, leave your guns at home and don't bring them to the airport. Because we already covered that, and don't leave your guns in unlocked cars or in your car ever at all.
Right. And maybe not... don't come out to see what's going on when the helicopter's right overhead.
Yeah,
you see the dogs tracking.
There's lots of things you can't say. I'm so
So
sorry.
you can say anything but those things. But is there anything that we can that you want to share with the public that would help make your job easier?
I would say, and it's probably already been said too, but I mean, if you see something, say something. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. We only can see so much, and we can only respond with what we know. Mm-hmm. And if you don't speculate as to what you think and all that stuff, tell us what you've seen, and we can respond to it that way. But if you don't pick up the phone, or if you don't stop somebody and let them know, and don't be afraid to approach a cop and give them information on what's going on in your neighborhood. If you can just casually, a lot of people say thank you for your
service, whatever. Yeah.
And if you get a right setting, and you can say, hey, just so you know, this house, I'm seeing this, or this person, that goes a long way for someone that's working in an area that may not have had that information.
Sure.
So again, I would just say, and it's probably been said, but it's important. If you see something, say something.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Jake. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Laura, if someone wants to stay in touch with us or give us feedback about the podcast, how could they possibly do that?
We really hope they do, because we love feedback. We also would like to have some insight into who other people we should invite on the show. Yeah, so definitely tell us that too. But anyway, you can contact us at lets56@pcsonet.com. That's LETS56@pcsonet.com.
And for you youngsters out there that are on the Instagram, 56 podcast with 56 spelled out. 56 podcast on Instagram, and you can stay in touch with us there as well.
Exclusive content sometimes.
Sometimes. So thanks everybody for listening.